Mighty 1630 KCJJ. I and Jim Hunter and Joshua Mull is here.
He goes by Josh.
Yeah.
But his formal name, I guess, his official name is Joshua. But you go by Josh. How you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks.
We're glad to have you here. Josh is running for an at-large seat on the Iowa City Council. What prompted you to decide that this is the time in your life to be and get involved in politics?
Yeah, I've really wanted to.
Did you fall on your head?
I did have a lot of people tell me, you're crazy. This is a great way to get at least half of Iowa City to hate you.
Jim, did you start YouTube?
Yes.
Okay.
So I for a long time have wanted to do this, but I feel like it took me a few years of working as an architect with the city, kind of seeing how that process works and maybe where some shortcomings are.
Yeah, your policy statement or your introductory, paper said that you'd worked with them on some architectural things. What kind of stuff did that involve?
Yeah, so the city owns a whole bunch of buildings, including the Robbie Rec Center and the Senior Center. And I've been involved in studying those buildings and coming up with lots of different plans for how they could be used, how they could be improved.
Oh, sure.
And what I've noticed over the years is you do these big master plans, and they pick a few little projects, and you end up spending a lot of money, getting lackluster results.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't know. I'd like to see some more comprehensive planning and big investments. People love our community spaces. Like, they like going to the rec center, senior center, and they want to be proud. But I wouldn't say a lot of people are super proud when they walk into some of those buildings today.
Yeah, they've gotten their use. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. 30, 40 years ago, there was a big investment in those spaces,
Mm-hmm.
and it's buildings have life cycles, and I think it's time to think about them again.
Yep, and we've seen the city, make some, step-by-step improvements to some of the parks, and they fix stuff when it breaks. That's always good.
Yeah. Our parks, we got great parks in Iowa City. So
yeah. So, so I guess I'm probably talking to the wrong person about this, but I'm confused why Laura Burgess is running for the District A now when she was an at-large candidate as an incumbent.
I will have to let her say all the specifics for why that's going on. Exactly, but I was at the beginning of this race was running for one of the same seats that she's sitting in, and I'm not anymore. The at-large got 2 seats, and there are no incumbents in the at-large race.
Okay, so with your background in architecture, what are some of the other things that you're hoping to accomplish when you get elected?
Yeah, so I spent a lot of time with the Community Leadership Program, which is a program through the what's now called the Greater Iowa City, Inc.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm worried about economic development in Iowa City. Start to think about all of the university been making jobs for our community for 176 years.
Right.
But they're not growing anymore. In UIHC, they started to invest in North Liberty, Coralville. We see Mercy going through bankruptcy. Pearson closed that campus north of the interstate. ACT continues to shrink. I'm worried. I'm worried that we're going to have a problem with jobs here in the near future. And the city has a role to attract and retain good employers.
Well, you have dealt with the city already. We've heard from different developers that Iowa City makes it really tough to start construction in this town because of all the different things that are pushing them this way and that way, and requirements for affordable housing and things like that. The aesthetics, and I know you've dealt with the Historic Preservation Commission and all that stuff too. So, do you see a pathway that maybe we don't want to just put stuff up for the sake of putting it up, but making it a little easier for developers to come here?
We need housing in Iowa City desperately.
Yes.
We have this huge housing shortage. 2022 had the lowest level of residential lot creation in 30 years. And that's true. It's difficult to build in Iowa City, and it doesn't have to be. I think that, again, we can't ever give up on safety. We can't ever give up, I think, on thinking about building a community that probably has a good mix of housing types for different kinds of people. But we've got to start building, and the city has to be predictable. I think a lot of developers are just tired of lack of predictability at the city level.
Right.
And city council has to make policy and then step back and let the staff, I think, do their work.
Well, there is a property right across from the Engler Theater that's sitting vacant right now, and I understand that there was, plans on building student housing there, not UI student housing, but develop a student housing development there, and it got kiboshed because they thought it was too dense for the neighborhood and things like that. And I looked at the plans for it, and it seemed like they had it figured out. They had a lot of parking for the residents, and then they said, because where they are, you're not going to have a lot of cars because they're walking distance to the university. And those are kind of the things that, a lot of the developers that have mentioned to us that, this is the kind of stuff that just makes you scratch your head.
Well, developers go through all this. It's a lot of money planning these things, getting
Sure.
the architecture done and everything, then going to the city and going to the city again, and then finally the project is shelved. And many developers have told me that it just is not economical for them to deal with Iowa City, and that's why you see the growth in North Liberty and Coralville and even in the smaller towns.
Yeah. And I think I have the ability to sort of work with developers or be the person who understands that, because I've been the person who've gotten paid to design things that never got built, and
Right.
that's bad for them. But also I have this background in preservation, and people are worried about things changing too quickly, and so there's this fine balance the city has to sort of, we got to preserve our walkable, lovable neighborhoods,
I certainly get that.
but we also got to build. So.
Yeah, and we talked about this earlier in the morning that even if you build out, you've got to have transportation to get some of the people that are looking for affordable housing into downtown where they work.
Yeah.
The main thing at the city council meeting last night was a lot of immigrants and refugees were talking about, we work here, but we can't find a place that's affordable to live here. It's too tough to find affordable housing downtown within walking distance of where we work, and there's just not a lot of space there to develop, but there is space, and like you said, there's that fine line between preservation of buildings and putting up new construction for that.
Yeah. Last night at city council meeting, that was pretty impressive, the amount of people who showed up.
Yeah, it was.
And told their story about, like, hey, I contribute, but I can't live here.
Right. Yep. Now you come from a pretty diverse background. So you're an architect, so you've had that experience. But personally, you have you're part of the inclusive community of Iowa City, which is why you like being here.
Yeah, I'm gay. I went to Luther College and came out, and at that time I thought, ooh, Iowa, I can't be here. So I left, And while I was gone, a whole bunch of really good stuff happened here. And I don't know whether it's my fault or not, but now I'm back here, and it seems like we've turned a corner, and there's a state government that seems to be kind of anti-gay. But Iowa City continues to be.
Doesn't seem to be. It is.
Okay, thanks. I'm too generous, apparently.
Yeah.
Iowa City continues to be super inclusive. The HRC gives us perfect scores every year for just being a really great city that's open and inclusive, and I appreciate that, and that's one of the reasons I love this place so much.
Well, there's a lot of states like Iowa where it's ultra conservative, but there are these liberal bubbles, and Iowa City definitely counts as one of those liberal bubbles. There's just a feeling of welcomeness and acceptance of people of all different backgrounds, and that's the way it should be. People should be able to go about their business and not worry about everybody else's.
I completely agree. Yeah.
I'm sure you do. So how long have you been back in Iowa?
Yeah, I came in 2011. Mm-hmm. So I had lived in Cincinnati for a while, and then Philadelphia, North Carolina, and I met what's now my husband, who went to the University of Iowa for his residency. So he kind of they kind of pick you where you're going to go. So
Right.
Iowa City picked us actually, and so that's why we came back. And I got to admit, I wasn't super excited to return, but now that I'm here, best thing that ever happened.
Yeah, I mean, we were like kind of pioneers. We were, one of the first states to approve of gay marriage and a lot of other things. And then, like you said, there's been a backlash over the last decade that has really changed things. But Iowa City has done everything they can to stay inclusive, and it's appreciated among its residents. I know that.
Yeah, yeah. And if I get elected to city council, I'll do whatever I can to keep that.
That sounds good, and we appreciate that. Do you see a time when the city becomes less and less dependent on the University of Iowa? Because there's stories about they've reached their peak population-wise or student population-wise. There's two schools of thought. Okay, well, even if there's not a lot of students living here, there's a lot of research going on, a lot of medical stuff going on, a lot of other things that will keep the city vibrant. But what about other economic opportunities?
Yeah, I think that yes, health science work is going to be a really good growth opportunity for us. The kind of stuff like IDT is doing. If we could have 3 more of those, you drive into Madison, and all of a sudden there's this thing called Epic that does electronic health records. It's been hugely beneficial for them to have those kinds of jobs, because I don't think we can depend on the university to continue to make jobs. I mean, while I think some people there would like to see it grow, I don't think we have a state government that is going to allow them to grow. And we also need to think regionally too. We have to collaborate with Cedar Rapids, not just Coralville, North Liberty, and
Sure.
go together when we go to look for big employers to come here.
Well, it certainly is a good corridor. I mean, we're right in the middle of America, and on a major highway, and Cedar Rapids isn't that far off of the major highway, and they're doing improvements to make that corridor a lot easier to drive.
Yeah, and they're doing a lot of good stuff in Cedar Rapids, and they do different stuff. So it's a
Yeah.
really good fit for us to just kind of go together and say, hey, you're going to do food production, you're going to be in electrical engineering kind of stuff like Cedar Rapids, maybe that's where your office goes. But you're going to do health science, technology stuff, maybe it's down in Iowa City. But
Right.
come here.
What about, Laura Burgess has been very vocal about the defund the police. How do you view the Iowa City Police Force? And
Yeah. So I am not a defunder. I believe strongly that we need to invest in prevention. We want to keep people out of the legal system. We got to invest in that. And I've seen through my work with United Way Community Impact Council, this community believes in that. They give money to that, and the city gives money to that. But as far as our current police department, they're small. You look at the statistics, we're half the national average. When you look at like how many officers per 1,000 people, and getting smaller means longer response times, and longer response times are not good.
No, that's conducive to more violence, and there's this perception that all the cops do around here is bust drunken college kids and people of color, and we know from our the data that they used to publish that it's not like that. There's bad people out there, and like you said, Iowa City keeps continuing to grow, and because of this, let's not increase the police force. It looks bad. There's a need for it.
Yeah, and we've got a good police force. I mean,
We certainly do.
We've been ahead of the curve on so many things. We have a Citizens Review Police Board. We
Yep.
have they've been keeping use of force statistics for a long, long time.
They're making strides there. Yep.
Yeah, they wear the body cams, and so I worry because they used to get a ton of people apply for the job, and they could sort of pick the best of the best, and I know they're having a hard time attracting people to come to Iowa City because it's Iowa City.
Well, and I think law enforcement, as a rule, has a hard time getting good candidates.
we are dealing with the police force now in that I've been here for 30 years, and before that the station went on in 77, and they've always broadcast the police reports and individual calls, and they appointed someone now, media relations, and they're no longer doing that. In fact, we've got attorneys working on it, which doesn't make us feel, good about that. The police force here has always been, the majority of people support it because it's so transparent. And now to cut off that transparency because one or more people feel it doesn't make the community look good, it's a mistake.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. So, what are your plans for the next couple of weeks? I would imagine you're probably going to be busy knocking on doors, and if you got a group of supporters that are helping you, or are you a lone wolf in this race, or what's going on?
Yeah, it's a ragtag team of friends. So I'll take whatever help I
Pretty
can
grassroots
get.
then. Okay.
It is. It's great. I got a great group of friends. A lot of them are my age, and most of them have kids, so that's always a challenge. So phone calls are actually really helpful. They can do that. Yeah, we'll definitely be knocking doors. It's really fun. I've seen parts of Iowa City I've never seen before. And yeah, I'll have a group of people knocking doors. We'll do several meet and greets. I'll actually be at Oak Knoll this afternoon. Group of good voters there, and probably can learn a lot from them. So
Sure.
I'm trying to meet as many people as I can, get my name out there.
Somebody
You thought of using the slogan, "Hey Mo."
So my parents have been incredibly supportive of this, and I came home one day and back to Fort Dodge area, and my mom had made T-shirts, and the T-shirts said, "Pick Larry," and that was crossed off. "Pick Curly," and it was crossed off, and then "Pick Mo." And so
Nice.
I wanted to go with it, and I thought, no, people won't take me seriously, but
you can wear it on election night.
I still got the T-shirt. It's pretty good.
If somebody wants more information about you, where can they go?
Yeah, so I got a website, so josh-mo.com. Also, I'm on Facebook. Yeah, look me up. So read more about what I'm doing and what I stand for, and reach out too. So josh@joshmo.com. Just send me an email. I'm doing my best to actually respond to every email people are sending to me, so that if they got a question, I'll answer it.
That is, and that goes a long way to getting elected, is making those personal one-on-one conversations with people, whether it's face-to-face or by email.
I ran for city council twice.
So I typically set up shop at the farmer's market next to a guy named Gary Sanders. And for people who know Iowa City's history, they know Gary has run for city council, and he's very proud of the fact to be the oldest living person in Iowa City to have lost 2 primary elections.
Well, how old is Gary?
I don't know, but
Because I'm 74 now.
so are you calling him out?
I think I am.
So
And not only did I lose and come in fourth, I came in behind a guy that completely made up his resume.
George Santos guy from Iowa City.
Absolutely.
An early George Santos.
He was on the air here and saying where he taught, and one of them was Horn Elementary, and we started getting calls from Horn Elementary saying, "We don't know this guy. This guy's never been here," and I still lost.
Oh, geez. So how many primaries did you lose, though?
2.
You lost 2. Oh,
Yeah.
All right. Well,
So if you see Gary again,
Yeah.
say there's a guy behind a mic in Iowa City that is challenging your claim.
probably see him Saturday morning at the farmer's market.
There you go.
So, which, by the way, come to the farmer's market. I'm always parked there on Saturday mornings. Good way to reach people, too. So,
Sounds good. Well, Joshua, it's a pleasure getting a chance to talk to you and get your views on things, and we wish you all the best.
hey, thank you very much for your time, and thanks for providing local news.
You're welcome. The mighty 1630 KCJJ.
Tavern Blue on the Coralville Strip is an Iowa pub experience like no